Hey, everybody. How is everyone today? Because guess what? It is now a whole hour later than what I normally do on Fridays, y'all. Trying something a little new just for this Friday, okay? So don't get alarmed, but you are on now with Mortgage Money with Shirley, and it's Friday! Y'all, it is almost end of June, right? Jeez, that means we are almost finished with the 6th month of the year. How we do that? How we get over to the end of June almost? It's crazy, right? This is 2022 and it's halfway over. I promise we just got started 2 days ago. We just started 2022 2 days ago. And now here it is. We are almost 6 months. We are almost halfway finished with 2022. Y'all, we're going to be looking at Christmas tomorrow. I know y'all ain't want to hear that, but I am your girl. I'm your host for today, Shirley Nichols with Mortgage Money with Shirley. You can catch my live stream right now. We are live. We are live right now here in the Morris Media Studios in Los Angeles, and you can catch this on my Facebook page, my business Facebook page, Mortgage Money with Shirley, or my personal Facebook page, Shirley Nichols, or you can catch it on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, but definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's under Shirley Nichols for Mortgage Money with Shirley. We're talking about episode 25 today. Do I continue to rent? Episode 25, we are talking about, do I continue to rent in this market, in this period right now? Do I continue to rent? Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Again, I always forget this. Let me say it now. My NMLS number is 105989, 105989. I always forget to say that number, but that is how you know I am licensed to do what it is that I am doing. I have been doing mortgage lending for over 28 years. 28 plus years I've been doing this thing. And I would like to just share with you some of the knowledge, experience, the tools, tips, all that good stuff I would like to share with you right now for my podcast. It's Mortgage Money with Shirley. I'm on twice a month on a Friday, normally around 9:30 California time. But today I had to do a little something different. So we're on at 10:30, but it's only a 30-minute segment. So tune in, invite your friends, grab your peoples, everybody come and listen up. Okay, so what are we talking about? Episode 25, should I continue to rent in this market? So let me tell you, this past week, I have been talking with a few clients, well, always talking to clients, but I want to share with you all just a snippet of a scenario of two of the clients I talked to with this week alone about their current status, right? Their current position right now is they are renting. Two clients, two separate locations, whatever have you. They're renting, okay? Here's what's going on with the renting. Here's what's going on with what landlords or apartment buildings are charging you as a renter, okay? Two different clients, like I said, happen to be both women. One's, in her career doing very well, and one is just now entering into the career field, right? So let's take the client that has, she's a seasoned professional. She downsized a couple years ago, moved to an apartment, blah, blah. It's a whole nother story. But nonetheless, she's renting right now. We're talking. I think I'm going to rent for another year is what she's talking to me about. I think I'm going to wait for another year, Shirley. These interest rates, buzzword. Everyone wants to talk about these interest rates, right? So she says, I think I'm going to, rent for another year. So I said, let's talk about it. Okay. 2-bedroom, 1 bath, kitchen, living room. That's pretty much the basis of her apartment, right? Kitchen, living room, 2-bedroom, and 1 bath. $2,800 later, because that's what she's paying for her rent. $2,800. What'd you say, Shirley? $2,800. Okay. Now, you're probably thinking what I was thinking. Why are you renting for $2,800 a month? It's just yourself. She doesn't have, any children, no husband, and doesn't have any roommates yet. Because I'm thinking $2,800, what are you doing? You might as well get a roommate. But at any rate, so $2,800, let's just call that $3,000, right? Okay. So she says, I think I'm going to just go ahead and rent for another year for about $3,000 a month. And I'm thinking, if only you stepped out on faith and went ahead and bought a small home, right? And I'm talking for $3,000 a month, the sales price of the property could touch on $500,000. Seriously, for $3,000 a month, just depending on your property taxes and the homeowner's insurance, you can be close to about $3,000 plus bucks a month. Okay. More on the high side of the 3,000, but nonetheless, that's for a $500,000 house, right? And again, like I said, depending on the insurance and the property taxes. So anywho, she says, well, I think I'm going to rent for the next year. So immediately I said 3,000 times 12, that's $36,000 is what you're going to put into somebody else's pocket. Literally. $36,000. That's almost $40,000 you're going to free willy-nilly give to someone else. $40,000. And so I asked her, I said, is that almost $40,000 that you're going to give to somebody you don't know? It's not a family member, not a close friend, not your boyfriend. You're going to give them almost $40,000 in this next 12-month period. Why? You don't want that to go to your pocket, your bank account, your investment, your portfolio that you're going to build one day. You don't want that $40,000 towards your wealth. You understand where I'm going with this? So you're looking at, oh my gosh, Shirley, these interest rates. But let's look at this. If you start now, you've just given yourself another year's worth of savings and equity that you could be building versus Mr. Willy-nilly or Mrs. Willy-nilly that you don't even know, right? So if you stopped and added up and did some number crunching, if you took that year's worth of $3,000 a month for your rent and put it toward your own savings, you'd have a whole year's worth of more money for your future, for yourself, for your investment. Doesn't that make a little bit more sense? Right? So now, she mentioned interest rates. So let's talk about it, right? Right now, the feds. What'd you say, Shirley? The feds. That other F word. The feds. Well, and we call them the feds. It's actually the Federal Reserve Bank, right? The chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, Mr. Jerome Powell himself, has said the feds, when they meet next week, what'd you say, Shirley? Next week, when they meet, interest rates could go up by as much as 0.75 of a point. 0.75 on top of what they are right now. Yeah. So what they're saying is it could happen more than likely. There will be a rate hike, but is it going to be 0.75%? Who knows? I can't think about that right now. But what you can think about is this interest that you're going to obtain, when you buy your house or you refinance your house, this interest, whatever number it gets to, is tax deductible next year, right? So if you go ahead and purchase your home right now or refinance your property right now, and that interest rate is 6+%, that's more interest you're going to be able to write off next year when you do your tax returns. Right? So you're going to get some of that back. I know it's frustrating. I know it sounds a little shaky achy, right? I know. However, look at the long term of it all. Look at the long term. You're not going to be as bad off as you think you are if you stop and do some number crunching versus give your almost $40,000 to Mr. Willy-nilly or Mrs. Willy-nilly. Okay, you're going to continue to pad their pockets and they're going to go buy them something else too. Trust and believe you me. Okay, Mr. Landlord, Mrs. Landlord, they're going to take your monies because that's what they're doing is your money, and they're going to go live off of it. They're going to go invest in something else. They're going to go buy them a few more properties because see, they're not thinking about, oh my gosh, the interest rate. They're not thinking about that kind of stuff right now because they know it's tax deductible, right? It takes money to make money. And I hate to keep throwing that cliche in your faces and talking about that philosophy of it takes money to make money, but it does. It does. And right now, the interest rates may be a little higher than what they were used to during the pandemic. Yeah, we got a little spoiled, but that wasn't the norm. Interest rates are hardly ever. I've been doing this for 28 years. Interest rates were as low as I've seen them in my whole entire career. 30-year fixed rates at 2.99, 2.75, 2.875. We were spoiled during the 2-year pandemic and a little bit after. We were spoiled, and those rates just aren't normal. Hence the reason why they're talking about inflation. Money was so cheap for the last 2 years, right? Money was so cheap. And ding, 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 it's the housing market, right? It's the housing market that keeps this whole economy, the United States economy going in rotation. It's cyclical. It goes in a cycle. It goes in a circle. That's what keeps this world here in the United States. Anyways, I can only speak about that because that's where I live. But that's what keeps it turning is money and the housing market. And if you're getting this money so cheaply, of course, what's going to happen? Inflation. Then the value of the dollar is not really worth what it used to be worth. That's what inflation is, right? It's the value of the dollar starts to go, right? So the only way to get the value of the dollar stronger or to get it back up is to raise the interest rates for the housing market and everything else. Of course, it kind of goes along with the plan. But what I'm saying is this. Interest rates under 3% on a 30-year fixed just isn't quite normal. Is the 5.5%, 5.75%, 6% what the rates are predicted to go to next week? Is that normal? Yeah. Pretty much. Because the dollar has to remain strong, guys, in order for this economy to keep turning, to keep going in that circle, right? To keep making things happen. So what you're seeing is right now, okay, go ahead, purchase your home, refinance your property, refinance that mortgage. Go ahead and do those things. And yes, the rates might be a little bit higher than what you were used to for the last 2 years. But guess what? Just like anything else, rates go up, then they go down. They do this, So as they're going up this year and, statistics or predictions or history may repeat itself, it may be this way for about the next, 18 months. I don't know, 18, 24 months. I don't know. But what I do know is if you wait another year because, oh my gosh, I need the rates to go down. And if they don't go down in 12 months time, which I don't think they are, but if they don't go down and you've got like another 18 months, you're going to spend 18 months of $3,000 a month to Mr. or Mrs. Landlord when that money could be going into your pocket, your investment stash, your portfolio. It can be getting you more equity on something that you own, right? Okay. Does that make sense? I'm not a big fan of renting because, of course, I'm in the business, but I'm just not a big fan of giving monies away. I saw this news clip, was it yesterday? I believe it was yesterday's news. I forget, today, NBC Today or something, or ABC Today, whatever that news, because I'm normally a CBS Gayle King watcher, so I normally get my news from CBS, but it was either NBC or ABC, one of those Today shows, anywho, and they had a guest speaker that came on, and they were talking about renting versus buying. Everybody's talking about that these days anyway, so you're going to get it right here on the podcast. You're going to get it on Mortgage Money with Shirley. I'm going to talk about it too, but she was talking about renting versus buying, and she actually was telling, like I said, I had 2 clients that were, trying to determine whether or not they wanted to buy a property. So one of the clients, like I said, was already a seasoned career woman, and the other one was just going into her career. Well, mind you, on this news clip, this one particular guest speaker was talking about a similar situation with a young lady who was in Atlanta. who was just entering into the workforce. And she was literally, I could about screamed. I wanted to plug up my ears, but I had to finish hearing what she was talking about because I was like, sooner or later, she's going to make some sense out of all of this. But she literally told this young lady to stay in her apartment. The young lady is in Atlanta and she was paying, I think, $2,100 a month or something like that. Something in the twos anyway. And she literally told this young lady, stay in her apartment. What? Where do we do this at? She told her to stay in her apartment and to not leave until she saved up 20% for her down payment. I literally wanted to turn the television off because I'm thinking to myself, why would you tell someone this? And from the old school days, there's lots of old school, older people who think the same way. You need to save up 20%. You need to save up 20%. You need to save up. But news flash. Hello. You don't have to have a 20% down payment anymore. My gosh. You really don't have to have 20% worth of a down payment. You don't. Why do I say that? Yes, there are different programs that you will be able to, if you're qualified, you will be able to obtain if you don't have 20% down. There's a 3% down. There's a 3.5% down. There's a 5% down. And yes, I know if you're seasoned in this business and you know what you're talking about and you're a professional in this business, yes, if you do not put 20% down, you will have PMI or private mortgage insurance. Yes, you will. You will have PMI. Yes. Yes, you will. Unless you buy it out. Meaning you'll increase your interest rate, so that you won't have to have the PMI. But if you do not put down 20% worth of a down payment, then typically you will have PMI, private mortgage insurance, which will make your payment, your monthly payment higher. Now, her rationale is to save the 20% down payment so you don't have that PMI causing your payment to go up higher. But do you know what the average sales price for United States, the average, not just what's in Idaho or Texas or Vegas or LA, but they're saying the average sales price in the United States right now is $430,000. From the east to the west to the south to the north, they're saying the average sales price about $430,000. Do you know how long it would take a young professional just entering the workforce to save 20% of $430,000? Do you know? I mean, that's almost 90 grand, right? Do you know how long it would take? You'll be renting forever. I mean, geez. So why would you tell that person that, right? So what I say is, when you have the resources, when you have the job stability, and let's talk about this job for 1 second. When you're entering the workforce, you just graduated from college, you got your college degree, you don't necessarily have to have a 2-year employment history. What'd you say, Shirley? You don't necessarily have to have a 2-year work employment history. When you've just graduated from college, you've got your college degree or your certificate and an employment contract, guess what? Most lenders will look at your college degree or certificate and that employment contract that says this is what you're going to make. They'll look at that, and chances are more than likely they'll go ahead and approve you for your loan. It used to be back, years ago, you'd have to have that 2-year employment history. No questions asked. However, as years have gone by and guidelines have been updated and changed and things have been moving and shifting around, you don't necessarily have to have that 2-year steady work employment history. But what you do have to have, if you're just now entering into the workforce, you do have to have some sort of credential, degree, or something that shows that, hey, you have been trained in this field and you're going to do this and have an employment contract and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's not the gospel and the golden rule, but that's really, really close to typically what happens now in the year 2022. Okay. So again, back to my example, the news lady was telling her, just wait until you get 20% worth of savings. And I'm thinking, and it didn't stop there. She told the young lady to stay in her apartment until she had 20% worth of a down payment and her 8% worth of closing costs. Now, I know some people are thinking, wait a minute, what? I thought when I bought my house, all I needed was a down payment. No, you don't. You need a down payment. That's one separate piece of money. And then you need your closing costs separate piece of money. Okay. Now, every now and again, when it wasn't a seller's market and it was more of a buyer's market in the housing industry, where a buyer could go in and say, hey, Mr. Seller, I want that house. Yeah, I know you said your listing price was $400,000. Well, can we negotiate and call it maybe, I don't know, I'll buy it from you for $410,000. But I need that $10,000 for my closing cost. And it used to be just that easy and just that simple. Mr. Seller says, oh, okay. You want my house that I'm listing for $400,000. You want it for $410,000, but you need that $10,000 for the closing costs. No problem. Okay. It used to be just that easy, in a buyer's market. Okay. So just know sometimes closing costs, sometimes you can get them from your seller. It just depends on the market, the climate that we're in. You may be able to get those from your seller. But nonetheless, 8% is pretty high. It's pretty on the high side if you're looking to save for closing costs. I don't have a measuring stick or a perfect measurement of monies or percent that you need for closing costs, but I typically tell my clients somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3% of the sales price would be a good start for closing costs, right? Because what goes into closing costs, title, escrow, appraisal, underwriting, processing, recording, property taxes, insurance. There's all kinds of things that go into the closing costs. And about 3% of a sales price, let's call the sales price $400,000. So about 3% of that, maybe about $12,000 would be a good benchmark for closing costs, right? But this newscaster was saying, oh, save up 8%. I'm thinking another 32,000. What is going on with this lady? So again, just depends on who you're talking to. But like I said, a lot of old school people may tell you that same thing. Save up the 20%, save up 8% for closing costs. I don't have any example of a client that had a sales price at $400,000 and needed 8% for closing costs. That's $32,000, guys. I have never had that type of example or that experience. So gosh forbid it's true, but geez, typically I tell my clients about 3% for the closing costs. And then if you want to do 3% down payment, 3.5%, we got those programs too. We've got 5%, but 20%, and you're just entering the workforce. You haven't even really started your 401k savings, and you just got a slew of student loans, if that's the way you had to go. And you want me to save up 20%, lady? I'll be renting for the rest of my life. So, no, I'm just kidding. But you see where I'm going with this, folks. My train of thought has always been, when you have the resources, when you have the credit score, when you have the job employment, when you have a place where you want to buy it. Right? Buy it. I don't know what the whole, I'll wait for another year thing is going to do, because guess what happens in a year? Oh, my car broke down. Oh, I saw this fancy new car that I needed to buy. Oh, I don't know. I wanted to go on a vacation. Oh, I thought I'd get a timeshare. There's so much that happens in a year's time that you forget the goal. The goal is home ownership, right? The goal is to build up a portfolio, right? The goal is generational wealth, right? If those are your goals, stick to it. And when you have your eligibility, your qualifications, go forth and buy. I just, I got so out of sorts with that newscast, that guest speaker talking about this. I couldn't believe it. So again, back to my initial example with the career professional, I said to her, once again, you're going to spend 12 months of rent making somebody else's pockets fatter when you can start your own savings and investing and wealth right now? Because you've got the credentials and the qualifications. What are you waiting on? Oh, I'm waiting on the interest rates to go down. Are you kidding me? Like I just said, did you hear what I said? Those interest rates may be a little higher than what we're used to, but it's really right on par for what they should be to keep inflation away from us, right? No one wants inflation because then here comes recession. No one wants that either, right? So what I'm saying is, even though their interest rates are a little bit higher, I have told you it's tax deductible. You'll get to write some of that off next year when you do your federal tax returns, right? Okay, so it's better that if you buy, that you get yourself a tax write-off when you need it. Most of us probably need it. Yeah. So go ahead and buy something, right? And don't worry so much about these interest rates. Now, I heard an interesting study about what people are paying now versus what they were paying last year or earlier this year before rates started doing this number, right? Rates started getting real out of sorts around February, end of February, March, right? They started getting real. I'm talking Monday night, they were 3%. Tuesday night in March, they were 5%. I mean, it literally happened that doggone quickly. It really did. That's the real shocker. Rates, being 5 and 6%, that's not so much of a shocker. And I'm only speaking about that because where I come from, 28 years ago, we were selling this money. We were selling these mortgages at 12 and 13 and 14%. So this is just not too spotty for me. But what I'm saying is this kind of stuff is probably right on par where it should be. But they were giving us this little study about what was then and what is now, right? So the interesting thing, what I found is that what they were saying is a house that you bought in January of this year, let's say it cost you about $300,000, right? And the monthly payment was X, Y, and Z, okay? If you bought that same house, that same $300,000 of a house right now in the month of June, right? You bought it in January, and I'm sorry, let's use a $400,000 loan amount. Let's say your mortgage was $400,000 in January. What the interesting thing about this study was saying is this same $400,000 mortgage in January, now in the month of June, would be like you're getting your money's worth on $300,000 because the payment is so high now. Is that interesting or not? It was like a $100,000, not quite 100, I think it was like $70,000 spread from what you were doing in January till June. Like they were saying you could get you could get property worth $400,000 in January at XYZ payment. But to get that same XYZ payment, that same $400,000 would be like a $300,000 house now. Is that kind of like, whoa? But the reason why I mention this, just to kind of give you a gauge of what interest rates and payments are looking like. Yeah, you may not be able to get that big mansion, but maybe just a mini mansion. Yeah, you may not be able to get the larger size $700,000, $800,000 house, but maybe you need to think about the $500,000 house and watch your equity build up. The bottom line is ownership. Go ahead and do it. And now there are some clients out there. I get it. I know it because here in Los Angeles, we're seeing it all over. Los Angeles is pretty darn pricey. And it is not getting any cheaper. So you can wait your 12 months if you want to, but I don't think it's going anywhere with these prices, right? Maybe the gas prices, please, let these gas prices go down. But at any rate, what I'm trying to say is this. Even if you waited for 12 months, I don't see the housing market doing such a significant shift that downward, right? So if you're in the market of buying a property and you say, well, I really want to get something, but I don't know if I can afford the payment, call me, let's talk about it. Or perhaps now's a good time to start looking at a multi-unit, right? Maybe get you a 2-unit, a 3-unit, or a 4-unit, and you live in one of those units because then you're still building up that equity, right? You're still investing in yourself, right? So think about that. I know a lot of people, this does make sense. I don't want to rent. I want to buy. I want to own. Maybe look into a multi-unit, right? Because then you can get a little bit more of a house, right? Because we can count the rental income, the potential future rental income from these other units, right? We can count that monies toward your money to help you qualify for something more, right? And then these other units, whether it's just one unit because you buy a duplex, or maybe it's 2 extra units because you buy a triplex, whatever that is, that monies can go toward paying your mortgage. And then it's like you're living for free. Oh, did I say that? So what I'm saying is think long term, think outside the box, and perhaps it may be time to think and look into a multi-unit, okay, versus a single family. Now, I have questions, again, from time to time for those clients who want to look into buying a condo or a townhome. All that stuff is great, but just do keep in mind with condos and townhomes, most of the time you will have an HOA fee that will also be on top of what you're qualifying for, okay? That HOA fee, homeowner association fee, depending on the area. I know I have an HOA and I don't even live in a condo or a townhome. But because I live in the area that I live in, there is an HOA fee that I pay monthly in addition to my mortgage. Yeah. I pay for that security guard in the front. I pay for them to come cut the grass. So at any rate, that HOA is paid monthly in addition to the mortgage. So be mindful of that, right? Be mindful if you are in the area or the market of buying something and you think, oh, I'll just buy a condo because it's easier, it's smaller. But you're also taking away from your purchasing power when you're buying a condo or a townhome with the HOA, because we will have to take in consideration, even though it's not a part of the mortgage, it's in addition to the mortgage. So that couple of $100 or whatever that HOA is, it will be factored into your debt to income ratio. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to look into a condo or a townhome. Just know, the purchasing power may shrink a little because you have to be mindful of this HOA, homeowner association fee. Okay. There's so much more I could talk to you guys about. I've got so much more to talk about renting versus buying. Guys, we could go on and on and on. But what I implore you to do is to call me. At the end of my shows, I always make sure I give you my phone number. My phone number, area code 818-720-7575. 818. You know what? I am so sorry. I have a little 7-year-old that's here in the studio with me today, and he's been over there as quiet as he could possibly stay, just so he can come on over here, come on down, and tell the people what you want to tell them. I'm going to actually let this little 7-year-old come over here real quick. He has been doing a good job. Come on over. See if they can see you. Oh, there he is, y'all. There he is. All right, let's hear it. What do you want to tell him? Tell him mommy's phone number. Scoot over here, they can't even see you. Okay, go ahead. Look right there in that camera.
Her phone number is 818-720-7575. Again, 818-720-7575.
Okay, and they're going to call who?
Her.
They're going to call the mama. You all give me a phone call when you have questions, comments, or concerns. You don't want to leave them in the comment section. That's fine. But whatever you do, subscribe to my
YouTube channel and like.
it.
And
yes.
give it a fat thumbs up.
And give it a thumbs up, guys. It's Mortgage Money with Shirley on twice a month on a Friday, about 9:30 here in California. And I so appreciate you all listening today.
And you should look on Fuller House Family Reunion, because I'm an actor too, just like she is right now.
Oh my God.
And so my phone number is, what's my phone number?
Oh, we're not going to give out your phone number. Listen, guys, you all have a great, fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.